flying.
Certainly, Tony, this looks like a 1972 Chrysler Charger, the sort of car that you quite often see running up and down the streets of provincial towns, getting involved in drag races and this sort of thing. This particular car's got quite a history. It actually won the 1972 Benson & Hedges Sedan Car Classic here at Pukekohe when it was basically a production car. Then it fell into the hands of a guy standing alongside me, Graeme Addis, and it gradually became more modified. Now, Graeme ran it the next year in the Benson & Hedges production sedan car racing, and then he started modifying. Now, one of the first things they did was to take out the ordinary Chrysler six-cylinder engine and replace it with a Chevy engine. Now, how did you get the Chevy engine into the front of it, Graeme?
Well, we had to modify the firewall in that we were allowed to move the engine back 12 inches. We had to take the whole front off the car and replace it with a space frame with a specially designed front suspension.
But of course now the engine's somewhere entirely different. We're seeing it now. Where is it?
Well, when we first modified it, we had trouble getting traction. With all the horsepower we had no weight on the back wheels and couldn't get any traction. So the obvious answer was to put the engine in the back. And
so the engine's sitting roughly where the back seat used to be?
That's correct.
That must make it a fairly different sort of a Chrysler Charger.
It is an entirely different Chrysler Charger, I can assure you. It's
Is it a pig of a thing to drive?
It can be. It just depends on the track and how soon you get it sorted out. None of these big cars are particularly easy to drive. There's a lot of horsepower. They only weigh about 2,000 to 2,500 pounds. And they're susceptible to changes of direction without notice.
You're obviously pretty proud of this car.
We are tremendously proud of it. It's done very well. Third meeting we've had it running at. The first race we put it in this season, the first race for the car, it won. And the last meeting we had it at Bay Park at a clubman's meeting here, against the best of the sports sedan opposition. We had 3 starts and 3 wins, and we couldn't ask for more than that.
Well, I noticed a lot of people walking through the pits and doing a double take as soon as they saw the back of this car, because where the number plate and the back panel used to be, there's nothing. Now, we can see right underneath the car. You should be just about seeing it now. What was the idea of doing this to it, Graeme?
Well, with the engine in the back, we had access problems to work on the gearbox and the diff, which is also in the back. We wanted to incorporate a type of Formula One suspension that we were able to make very quick changes to. And by having access through the back, we can make those changes very quickly and adjust gearbox, engine, and so on.
So basically, it's just like a Formula One car at the back.
It is. There's not a lot of difference. Just perhaps everything's bigger and heavier because the car is just so much bigger. It's 18 feet long, it's 7.5 feet wide, and it's about 44 inches high, which means the centre of gravity is much higher than a Formula One car. But basically, it's the same type of thing.
You've used all sorts of bits and pieces building up this car. You're going to let us into some of your secrets?
Well, I think probably the biggest secret is the international hay bale of donuts we're using in the drive shaft, in the half shafts. That's done to take the shock out of the initial traction getting off the line. We have little things like Kenworth truck warning lights, Morris 1100 gear lever. And probably the heart of the whole thing, the best part of it all, is a Chevy engine.
That's obviously a pretty reliable engine. You haven't actually modified it very highly, have you?
No, we haven't. In fact, we've gone away from highly modified engines in an effort to gain reliability. We've got our speed by putting the effort into the car, not so much the engine. Mind you, if we need more horsepower, there's a lot more we can do to get that horsepower. But at this stage, we don't.
Well, thanks, Graeme. Well, I don't know if there's an awful lot more you can do to the Chrysler Charger here. I would have thought that's about the ultimate in whatever you could do to modify a car. But remember, these are the sports sedans, the cars that an awful lot of people are going to be watching here tomorrow at the Grand Prix.
Now, it looks like an Alfa or an Alfetta, but as Rich Cook said before, it's really only the roofline and the bodyline. It's a Chev 5-litre V8 in there.
Yes, the